Hello there, everyone. I welcome you on this Community Guild tournament, and I'm your host, Daniel Flutters, and look who I got for you. Charlie, Hero Wars Central. How's it going?
Doing great, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to see what these two teams are going to provide for us today.
Okay, we actually have Area 51 and Forza 1. So, two teams left for the finals. We know their picks, but we haven't watched the fights yet. But we just got the footage, and we are going to check it out with you guys. And I'm here to ask dumb questions, as you all know, and and Hero Wars Central, aka Charlie, will give that detailed information to every single point in the fight.
Well, Daniel, I want to say you've come a long way since you started just a couple of weeks ago. I'm super excited to see what you're going to bring to the community in the weeks and months to come. So I'm very much looking forward to what you've got there. So as Daniel mentioned, we've got Area 51 and Force of One. Both of these teams brought an Aurora, which I feel is probably one of the best, if not the best, heroes in all of Hero Wars on the browser version of the game right now. And what I think is going to separate these two teams, and what I noticed in some of the other fights that we saw throughout the tournament, is that the team that brought more pure damage is going to ultimately be the victor. Now, I know that the Area 51 team is very strong, but that Force of One team has not only Maya, but also that Lian. And both of those are going to put out a ton of pure damage if left unchecked. Another thing that I want to pay attention to, and we can watch as we start this first fight, is the enemy team that Force of One. I guess I should stop saying enemy team there as they switch back and forth. But the Force of One has a Phobos, and with the recent rework of Phobos, his ultimate is actually going to target the hero with the highest physical attack, and that hero is going to be Sebastian. So what I think is going to happen, and we'll see here in the first fight and potentially the rest of the fights, I think that Sebastian is going to be the first hero to go down on Area 51's team because he's going to be targeted by Phobos' ultimate. And I think that between Celeste, between Maya, and Lian, I think that it's going to overwhelm Sebastian's ultimate and his ability to block debuffs for his team. So I think you're going to see a quick death by Sebastian on the Area 51 team.
Wow. That's quite a forecast, but I can say that, yeah, I only see that Phobos and Lian is just a big control for the enemy team. I mean, I know we are stopping to say the enemy team, but yeah, I mean, for the opposing team.
Sure.
But by the way, about the pets, their pets, they both have Axels for the team, but different pets for Aurora.
So Axel is becoming kind of the most popular pet in the arena and in Guild Wars. His ability to negate a lot of the heroes in the game and spread out and smooth out those big damage spikes is become very effective tactic in very high level play. And what I think is incredibly interesting is the contrasting choices. Area 51 brought an Aurora with Oliver for a patron, and Oliver is fantastic at keeping that physical damage and keeping that tank alive, keep the physical damage at bay, I should say. And Aurora and Kayn on Force of One, classic choice. Kayn with Aurora means that roughly every third dodge, that Aurora is going to be using their ultimate. As a maxed out Kayn provides, somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 35% energy every time its patron dodges. And, we know that Aurora, she dodges a lot.
Okay. Okay. So, before we start the first fight, let me just give you guys a quick reminder about the rules of the tournament. And by the way, I've been talking to the devs, and they told me that if this event is going to be of likeness for the whole community, they will definitely rework it into something more complex, like of a more complex event. But right now we have 6 battles for each team, for every team. I mean, both of the teams are going to have 6 battles, 3 on the defensive position and 3 on the attacking one. So the winner is the one who wins the most of the battles. But if they are even, we will be defining who the winner is by the timer. So the fastest to win is the winner. That's it.
Okay, I'm excited to see it. I'm looking forward to these fights. So the strategy that Area 51 is bringing into this fight is using Lars to group up the enemy team, add magic penetration to its team, and then have Aurora's constant area of effect with her ultimate to hit those grouped up enemies. But if this fight goes long, I think that you're going to see a lot of healing from Maya on the defending team.
But she also does a lot of damage, right?
She does. She does a ton of damage, especially pure damage. You can see that there she just casted her ultimate. Lars, see there went Sebastian. Sebastian is down. And I bet if we watched a slow-mo replay, it was because of Phobos' ultimate. And there Phobos ults again, hitting Celeste, not Aurora. Interesting target there. I figured that Aurora would have a higher physical attack than Celeste did. But Celeste's down on both sides, so we're not going to see much healing or damage from her. And as you can see, not a lot happening from this point going forward. I think what we're going to end up with is a little bit of a stalemate. The attacking team doesn't have a reliable way to slow down Maya's healing, and every time Aurora and Lars use one of their area of effect abilities, they're getting charmed by Lian. They are applying those watermarks, but without having, now that Lars is dead, it doesn't matter. Here we are with 20 seconds left. It does not look like Area 51 is going to have enough damage.
But Aurora is not going anywhere as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they are defending, right?
That's correct. Something to consider with a lot of these teams, a lot of people would consider that Aurora does not, her ability to dodge doesn't really come into play here. But something a lot of people don't remember is that every hero, with the exception of two, their basic attacks, their basic auto attacks are physical attacks and thus can be dodged. And with Aurora in the front row, she's getting effectively 5 basic attacks from the enemy team. Well, not in this case because of Celeste. She's getting 4 basic attacks every round, which means that's 4 chances for her to dodge. If Force of One's Aurora dodges 3 times, she's able to ultimate. And you can see here with the damage, Maya, of course, if a fight goes long, Maya is going to have the highest damage and the highest healing by far. And we can see that with the pure damage output from Maya.
Right. Which actually did like the highest damage on the whole match. Like, wow. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect that. I thought she would like do a lot of damage, but I didn't expect that.
I will say that Maya is one of the third or 20% of heroes that I have not spent a whole lot of time with learning the ins and out of. Some of you know me by my YouTube community, and some of you don't. But I run 5 to 7 accounts each day, and Maya is not on any of them.
How come?
Whenever I started all of the accounts, Maya was a little harder to get than she is now. Now you can get her from a vendor. Whenever I started all the accounts that I'm playing, she wasn't purchasable, and now you can get her kind of in the starting quests on mobile. But again, I was well past that before they added her as a quote unquote freely given hero, I should say.
Right.
But it's a good thing, because one of the things that Hero Wars lacked for a long time was early healers. There wasn't a lot of options. You just basically had Thea, and that was it.
I mean, I got Maya like I don't know, like one of the first heroes that I got Maya, and I'm loving her. But I think I made a mistake because I kind of forgot about Phobos on both versions, on PC version and on mobile. Like, I'm not leveling Phobos at all, and I think it was a mistake on my side.
Well, a lot of people consider Phobos to be kind of a specialist regarding boss fights. Up until the rework just a couple of weeks ago here on browser, Phobos' ultimate was random, and it still is on the mobile version of the game. It's completely random who it hits. So you couldn't really rely on him to effectively determine if you were going to be able to beat the enemy team or not. And where he was most often used was against bosses in the campaign, of course in adventures here on browser, but also you pair him with Faceless in the tower, and he was highly effective. But what I think, since his rework, I'm not even sure what it was, last month or the month before. I think you're going to see a lot more of Phobos. His damage output is pretty high. He has magic defense as an artifact, which not a lot of quote unquote meta or mainstream heroes have. And with the rise in Sebastians, I think you're going to see more and more of Phobos.
Right. And lots of control, I can say, like, because, yeah, I was just actually thinking. Okay, so should we just proceed to the second fight?
Yeah, let's go ahead and head on to the second fight.
Okay,
so this is going to switch sides now. Force of One is going to be attacking.
Right, by the way, I just forgot to mention that Force of One just, got one because they were defending and they won by the time. And, yeah, the one who outwins the timer by the timer on the defending side wins the match. Like, yeah,
sure.
Just want to mention that.
So what I'm looking to see here is if the combination of Lee and Phobos in the back is going to be enough damage output to put the defending Area 51 away. And what we saw in the first round in the video that was put out earlier this week is the Area 51 first round fight actually went the distance. And it wasn't until one of the teams happened to get a strong offensive showing that they were able to advance. And of course, that was Area 51 because we see him here. But again, you see Sebastian going down first. This is going to cause a lot of trouble because Lian is going to keep applying those charms. Phobos is going to keep controlling. And, the Lars Aurora combo is gone. You have Celeste tanking on the the defending team. Now we have 55 seconds. 4 heroes versus 2 heroes. Now, Martha is one of the tankiest heroes in the game. Without having a pet patron to her, she's going to be a lot easier to kill. But the Force of One team is definitely struggling. Definitely struggling to do enough damage. Let's see. Lars is going to go down.
Lars is down, yeah. I was actually
30 seconds to kill Martha.
Vouching for him. I would be so... Yeah.
Those vines from Maya tangling her up, just constant damage.
Right.
Looks like it's going to be enough.
Oh, they got her. Yeah.
Yeah, Force of One coming in clutch.
I actually didn't expect that because I thought, like, I wanted to say, like, oh, I would be so surprised if Martha actually overheal all those 4 heroes, but at the same time, I was actually thinking that she would. So I'm double surprised.
Well, let's talk a little bit about healing. Now we can see here that in this fight, Phobos actually did the most damage. It wasn't Maya on Force of One, but with the teams that we have here, what a lot of people don't think about is one of Martha's abilities is actually to heal herself. Now she's considered a tank on the mobile version of the game, but not on browser, which is an odd departure. But a lot of the healing that she does in this final screen, and I'll be honest with you, one of the things that I would like to see is a little bit more detail in these end of fight info cards. I know that there's not a lot extra that can be shown, and with how many fights that happen in a day, I'm not sure how the team would actually implement that. But you can see here that Martha is 1.2 million healing. I'm curious how much of that healing was to herself and not to her team.
That would actually be a good thing to know.
Yeah, because there's, and in fact, there's a couple of heroes that give misleading results because it doesn't tell this doesn't tell the full story about who healed who and how much damage was dealt. At the other side of this, one thing that I would mention, you mentioned a more complex, more fleshed out tournament if this is well received, but with this being fought entirely in auto mode, both of these teams brought Celeste to this fight. And one of the things that a lot of people consider Celeste is as the best healer in the game, if she's in manual mode. So if these fights were done in manual mode and not in full auto like the arena, I would imagine that we might see different results than what we're seeing here. Certainly higher healing than 500,000 healing. Now, obviously, I believe the attacking Force of One Celeste died pretty quick. So that's, that probably counts towards that, but might be something to also take back to the team. If you plan on doing this tournament in the future, letting Force of One run this fight as the attacking team, letting Area 51 run the fight in manual mode as the attack. Obviously defending, you need to leave them on auto, just like in Guild Wars, but yeah, something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's actually a good point because I was actually thinking as well because first of all, like if you guys watched my stream, like one of my first streams, I was saying that, wow, I'm in love with the game and all that. But then I was actually getting in love with it, falling in love with it. I will explain why. Because I couldn't understand how would you put 5 heroes, like the same team, like 2 teams of the same heroes, and they would give like different results, like completely different results. And then I just start realizing that there are lots of things. And I remember people were saying to me, hey, stop playing on auto, because this is like completely different experience. And I didn't understand it back then. But after that, I was taking more and more, dungeon runs and all that. And I just realized that, yeah, I should actually do a lot of things on manual mode. It changes a lot.
It does. It does. And this, when it comes down to, big high profile matches like this, having the ability to, control the nuances of when you use your ultimate abilities is going to make all the difference. Now, there are more, I don't want to say complex teams, but there are definitely more teams that benefit from manual mode than some of the teams that are represented here. And I'm not saying that these 2 teams are bad, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention my boy Kark and Faceless. Having Kark and Faceless on manual control to time whenever they use their ultimates, compared to using Faceless in auto mode, is a completely different experience. It's a much weaker Kark team.
I can see it now. Definitely. I was, in my head, I was actually going for hashtag manual Daniel, but never mind. Don't run that.
Get that trending on Twitter.
Yeah, I think I would. Okay, let's just go for the next fight.
Yeah. So each team has got 1 win under their belt.
Yeah. By the way, I forgot to mention that. Thank you.
Now that we have, no, I take that back. Force of 1 has 2 wins. Excuse me. I was thinking that the defending team was Force of 1, but with all Force of 1 needs to do is win 2 of the next 4, and they take home the championship belt. So same situation here. I'm looking for an early Sebastian exit on the attacking team. Will there be a difference? Now, what you mentioned earlier about seeing differences in auto mode, one fight to the next, you see that a lot more with critical hit teams than you would with teams like this. Neither of these teams have critical hit chance. The tanks are relying heavily on dodge, and Aurora's dodge artifact does provide dodge for the team. So there is a chance there, but there's a whole lot less variance in these teams since there's considerably fewer variables that change in the course of a fight. One hero could be critical hit versus another. And you can see here that Area 51 was able to actually put out enough damage to win this time. And why was that? Who knows?
I think there was like a complexity of different occasions that took place, and it's like a real life. We think that everything is logical, but we are just run through it with some things are just not determined by the logic at all. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And what I think we see here is the successful implementation of the Aurora Lars combo. Again, Lars, his ability to group up the enemy team using his tornado is most often seen paired with Krista. But if you're gonna be using a tank that does area of effect damage in a certain part of the arena, not the entire team, but just a certain specific portion of it. If you had the enemies grouped up, that's just all better for it. And then you add in the great utility of Sebastian and Celeste, and then I'm curious to see how much healing Martha did in this match. But you can see that Maya did not lead damage on the Force of 1 team. Wasn't as effective the first round as she was in this round. But see, Celeste did considerably more healing this time than she did last time. And I think that's going to be the difference. I think Celeste is going to end up being the difference for Area 51 as opposed to Force of 1 using Maya and Phobos.
But in auto mode, it also depends on how quick they actually loaded their ultis, right? So how much energy they got.
That is correct.
Yep.
That's correct. The attacking team always attacks first in auto mode. So they have the chance to use their ultimates first, generally speaking. Now, you have Phobos on the defending team, and Phobos, one of his abilities, his Violet ability, actually drains energy whenever he uses his ultimate. So if the enemy Phobos, if the Force of One Phobos is allowed to ult more than once, the Force of One team is going to be at a considerable advantage, cutting back on that energy. It's kind of like how Jorgen used to be before he lost popularity.
Wow. So guys, to play this game, you have to be smart like Charlie, like you're playing chess. Okay, let's just proceed to the next one because I'm excited.
Yeah, let's take a look. So Area 51 has 1 win, and Force of One, has 2 wins.
Yeah.
Now we have 3 matches left. I really hope that one team is able to put this away. I really hope it doesn't come down to time.
Yeah. Lars is being charmed, right?
Yeah. See, the thing about Lars is one of his abilities is an area of effect hit, and his ultimate is the same kind of situation. So Leon is a common counter for Twins teams and any team with Lars. Again, Sebastian is the first person to get killed. So a lot of you Facebook and browser players looking for counters for enemy Sebastians, consider leveling up a Phobos. Depending on who else they use in the team. Most often you see Sebastian used in critical hit teams with Jet, sometimes with Kira and Kark, Daredevil, Artemis, other marksmen. But if you're using a Sebastian to kind of protect your team against debuffs, as Area 51 is here, consider Phobos. But I think we're gonna have another Force of One win here. And it looks like it.
Probably.
That you can see that attacking Axel just diverting all the damage, just spreading out all the damage, and the Force of One Maya just healing it back up. Aurora leading damage on both sides. Phobos doing a considerable amount of damage. I would imagine most of that damage is to the Area 51 Sebastian. Celeste starting to actually do stuff here, but interestingly enough, we starting to see less and less damage output from Maya in these fights. What do you think about that?
I have no idea how this is happening because the first match, she was like top at everything. Top at the healing, top at the damage dealing, but right now Aurora is just... I'm a bit confused now.
Well, what you're seeing here, what you see on Area 51 and to a lesser extent Force of One, because it's just a small change, but Aurora, Celeste, and Sebastian are slowly becoming the 3 quote-unquote best heroes in all of the browser version because of what they each bring to the table. Celeste's ability on manual to heal and damage both, being a top-tier healer, a top-tier damage dealer. Aurora being probably the single best hero in all of Hero Wars on browser right now. That's probably a contested argument with Yasmin and Leon and a couple others. But the ability to negate Area 51's Sebastian, I think, is making all of the difference in these fights. That's my takeaway. And I actually mentioned that in a video I did earlier this week about, the Phobos versus the non-Phobos teams. The Phobos team is going to have the edge. Also, of course, the bonus pure damage, like I mentioned earlier. If Area 51 had some pure damage, this fight would be different.
Okay, so Martha is always the top healer on every fight, but I'm still wondering if she did it to herself, like self-healing, yeah. I have no idea.
She gets the ability to heal herself on her auto attacks, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, it's her green ability, Secret of Longevity. Martha's basic attack heals her when a projectile hits an enemy, and then the farther the projectile travels, the more health it will restore. She heals herself, not heals a teammate. So it's her green ability is probably a lot of that, over 1 million healing.
Okay.
Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I'm keeping a lot of things in mind right now. I'm learning a lot.
I put out a tier list video about healers, and a lot of people got upset with me that I didn't rank Martha much higher, and this is exactly why. She does, statistically, she probably does more healing if the fight lasts longer than 15 or 20 seconds, and you will see some short matches that only go 15 to 20 seconds. But if the match ends up going longer than that, over a minute, Martha traditionally out heals everybody, but not necessarily healing her team as much as she's healing herself. But all right, let's let's see. This could be the last match right here. If Force of One can win one more, I believe mathematically, Area 51 is eliminated.
Yeah, it's 3-1, and I actually was expecting 2-2, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know now. This is something I cannot predict. But
I'll be
yeah.
interested to see if that Maya can keep the team alive long enough to outlast the first round of attacking ultimates. Because once you outlast that first round of attacking ultimates, I think that Area 51 loses all of their attacking opportunity. And we'll see if if Sebastian gets dropped first. Let's see. Phobos is about to ultimate, and yep, there goes Sebastian. He's got. Well, he stayed alive. Okay. I think that's the first time that Sebastian actually survived one of. Okay, well now he's dead.
Okay, it was quick.
We have a fun meme on our live streams that Celeste always dies first, and on the Force of One team, you can see that that's the case. I run an Aurora Celeste Leon team on one of my accounts. Oh wow, this is gonna go to 6 rounds.
There was a bit unexpected, and it was a bit crazy and quick for me because I was like watching Sebastian surviving all that, and I can say that watching these matches, actually I can learn a lot from it because I don't have all of these heroes yet, but I can see who I really want to level up, and I can see that he survived that one, but after that something clicked and the whole team just went down. Can you please explain that one to me?
Honestly, I'll have to watch it again. But without having Celeste providing consistent magic attack artifacts, none of the damage dealing heroes here had much damage output. Leon, Phobos, Maya, they all had much lower damage output. And what I think ended up happening is I think that I think that there was a combination of Lars's blue ability. Lars's blue ability, his let me pull it up here so that I can read it exactly what it is. His lightning bolt strikes the nearest enemy with a lightning bolt, dealing damage and stunning them. And enemies with Mark of Water are prioritized. I think he was able to do that right after his Lord of the Storm ability, and his conductance is what allows basically Lars to do so much damage. His conductance, his Violet ability, all of Lars' attacks against enemies with the Mark of Water deal more damage and then stun them for a longer period of time. So I think it was a combination. Of some consistent output from Lars, keeping that defending team stunned longer. The watermarks, what I was watching was the first round of watermarks. If they dropped off in time, and they actually did, but then he was able to lightning bolt and then quickly Lord of Storm again, and I think that's what closed it out. Add that with the fact that Celeste was dead on the Force of One team, and that Maya isn't a great spike healer. She's really good at healing over time. I don't think that the Force of One defending team had an opportunity to recover from that.
Right. So we have something unexpected, and we will see what will happen in the next fight, right?
Absolutely. I think we're gonna. If Area 51 can successfully defend here, we're gonna go to the judges and measure the time. But if
I wish it won't happen.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't either.
I'm not too good at counting.
Yeah, I'm gonna let somebody else handle that. I'll maybe get my 7-year-old in here if you were home from school.
Right.
That attacking Aurora is going really low on health. But one thing about Celeste, you can see that white ball above her head. Celeste's got crazy high healing. Maya's flower is up. We got everybody still alive. Sebastian's about to go down without heals with that.
Celeste down.
Died first. Okay, there we go. So now the defending team lost their best healer. Looks like we are going to go. We're gonna go to the judges. Well, I don't know. We have a minute. We have a minute left. Lars and Martha. We've seen this before.
Wow.
Now Lars is down.
Okay. Yeah, it looked like one of the first matches, something like that to me, at least. Yeah.
And just a quick recap, you can see here that Aurora's damage output, again, tanks should not be the highest damage dealer, but sometimes in certain metas and certain environments, given certain rule sets and the pets, this is what you got. Now, if everybody had a pet, if Lars had a pet, Leon had a pet, things might be different. But Aurora leading all damage on both sides.
I mean,
such a strong hero.
To my perception, like maybe I'm a bit like of an old timer, but I've been playing lots of MMORPGs and stuff like that. And when I was playing a damage dealer and a tank, like it never happened to me, but when a tank got more damage than like a damage dealer does, it would be like a shame. And to my perception, like Aurora shouldn't be that high of a damage, but here it's like something completely different.
Yep, I agree. I've seen it in a couple instances, and certain patches in different games here and there. I know you play a couple other games on the side, but
right.
Damage taken, you can see that defending Aurora just eating a ton of damage. Let's take a look at the healing and see what that looks like. I think you're going to see Martha again with more healing than anybody else, but just barely. I'll be honest with you. This was probably the most decisive victory that Force of One had, and I think the last match where Area 51, closed it up there at the end, I think that was the most decisive win that they had. So short of those two fights, I think this could go either way. But do we have somebody counting the time on the side here? Is this do we tie up 3-3?
What do you mean? Like we got
Force of One won.
Yes, I mean, guys, this is so easy to mix up the teams because they got switched every time, and
right,
I think it's all about interface. And this, what I will also take to my, I don't know, to one of my comments for the dev team for next tournaments like that. We need like a proper interface where we don't. I mean, the commentators and the ones who do the analytics and everything, and even viewers wouldn't mix up any teams, because it is 2-4 and 4-1 is actually Victor, and now I didn't get it as well, and we were like so quiet, and now I just realized that we should be actually cheering up for Force of One.
No, congratulations, guys.
Yeah, congrats, guys, and this is great. As far as
That's actually really amazing.
Yeah. As far as I remember, there are no like material prizes, but the winners are going to get that special avatar and special avatar frames, and the ones who actually participated, they are going to have their own avatars, and I think it's all going to be posted and shown to everyone. And and this is a great way to stay in the history of the game. Like the top guilds are, I think it's like your goal, guys, to just stay in that history, like stay in the record.
Absolutely. So can we say officially that server 35 is better than the rest?
I don't know that yet. I mean, I don't know what am I supposed to say here, because I'm a new guy here. I cannot say things like that, but
So the great thing about this game is that you've got such great talent in every server that you go to, and I know some of my really close friends in this game has had a lot to say about the teams that were entered and the teams that made it past the first round, and I think they'll have a lot to say about this fight. But I think Force of One, not knowing who they were going to be facing going into this tournament, I think they brought the best team that you could bring, considering, I mean, there was a lot of Orion, Dorian, Helios teams, because I think everybody planned on other players bringing a Yasmin. But when we didn't see but 2 or 3 Yasmins in the entire 16 team lineup, I think you could pretty well spell the end of all of those teams. ODH, that is Orion, Dorian, Helios, is a very strong, fantastic team. But that you could see here that they just didn't hold out. And of course, we don't have losers brackets to face off against. This was just a couple of rounds, but I think this was a great showing by Force of One. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, claps, and cheers to all of you, like to everyone who participated. And I just wanted to add that I've been told that our devs and the whole team was inspired by the event that Fakir, I think, this is read like Fakir, one of the content makers. He did something like that with his subscribers. I mean, created a tournament, so we got inspired. And yeah, thanks a lot, Fakir, for inspire us to this tournament. And yeah, I think future ones will be more complex, more interesting, maybe with manual controls. And yeah, I think we should call it a day. If
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. I'm very much looking forward to what you guys are going to be doing for us with these tournaments in the future, and I'm incredibly excited about what you guys are going to be doing for Winter Festival here in the next, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks. Any hints about that? Probably shouldn't talk about that here. Actually, let's just.
I actually have one hint. I actually have one hint that I already have. A Christmas tree prepared for for the streams, and I already got it covered with the Christmas balls and all that, but this is the only hint I can give right now. Yeah, just a bit of a love. So yeah, Charlie, thank you so much for participating, having my back, and I wouldn't make this informative, this detailed without your help. I mean, I think I was helping you, so yeah, thanks.
I think we're helping each other. There are
Right.
a lot of great content creators out there that I think would be excited to have an opportunity like this. But I'm more than happy to be here anytime you need me, Daniel. Thank you so much.
This is great. Thank you, Charlie. I mean, I'm even struttering, but I'm speechless because I was actually thinking that it would go to 3-3, but we got our winner. Congrats, everyone who participated. Thank you all for watching this, and I will just see you next time in the next video, and have a good one. We call it a day. We call it a tournament.
All right. I love you all, and good luck in Dominion.